Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot and welcome to the October refresh. This is going to be a refresh of the October energy. So, at the beginning of each month, we take a look at the big picture for the month, the energy that's coming in, and right around the mid month mark, we like to refresh that. So, that's what this is going to be. It is going to be with a soulmate focus. So, I used to do it with just kind of a general focus, and then the next day I would do the soulmate one. Feedback from you guys said I should probably just do the soulmate one because a lot of the same information comes out, and that's what you are ultimately wanting to hear. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and refresh October energy from the soulmate perspective. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. It will be a general reading, of course, for this collective. So it's not going to resonate with everybody. Shouldn't resonate with everybody. But if it does resonate with you, then by all means, take a look at some of the other messages and maybe think about subscribing as well. So let's see. I think this is going to be my main deck, and then I'll use this one to clarify. I'll set it off to the side. So we're going to start with that energetic backdrop. And so this is going to be in the energetic and emotional backdrop for the month of October. And we're with the changes from the feelings around the eclipse and kind of just the way things have been going lately, I don't even know what to expect. So there's definitely this feeling of kind of, it's a struggle, but it's like struggling to keep up, struggling to keep afloat. Four of Pentacles, letting go of something. There are changes happening. So we knew that changes were coming. We kept hearing changes were coming. So you're in the middle of those changes now. You're in the midst of that. So there's emotional change. There's a heavy emotional load for both of you right now. We know that, like, for some of the recent readings here with the divine masculine, messages, we know that they were kind of in a super intense place right now. We saw some of the messages that a couple of days ago that they're urgent messages they feel like they can't send. And when you get in there and look at them, you can see why they wouldn't feel like they can send those messages. Because they really aren't things that you could say to people, but they are also things that they're having a really hard time articulating. So then yesterday we looked at the extreme dreams and fantasy sort of experiences that your person is kind of getting lost in those once again. It feels like they're trying to pick themselves up a little bit with this struggling in the situation, but it's also kind of like I was saying, a struggling to keep up and yet going through the changes and trying to kind of make it a reasonable experience, just getting through the day. And that feels like that Five of Wands, that struggling kind of to keep up, feels like it's more of a global mutual energy. It feels like there's a lot more of that kind of happening. Okay, let's see what else wants to come out for this. And this is, remember, this is that general energy. It's the energetic backdrop, so it's kind of the context with which we can take the rest of the reading as it comes out. It's one of the reasons I love to do that energetic and emotional backdrop, because you can see some days, or it's like that, you can kind of see what the weather is for that day. It's a little like the weather, but just focusing on it from what's the energy happening between you and your soulmate. So we've got a couple of them that, ooh, all right, a few of them that came out here. I'm just going to set this down in a big old messy way, and we're going to go through them because the first one I want is over here. So we've got the Fool. This is part of what I was feeling that made me think, hold on, with this new moon and this energy of the eclipse, there's definitely there's turning over a new leaf kind of feeling, but there's also having a lot of options, and that's what this Seven of Cups represents. So we've got a lot of options and a readiness to move into a direction, but it's like I don't know what I must be thinking, but yes, I'm considering this kind of feeling. That's really what comes off of that Fool card. With the Seven of Cups there, it's knowing that you haven't yet committed to something and you could still get in there and change your mind. Five of Swords. This is energy that kind of concerns me a little bit because it comes out here with this Tower and this Temperance card, both in the reverse. The Temperance card in the reverse feels like just not having the kind of balance that you are hoping to have, but I feel like that's almost implied with the Five of Wands and the Four of Pentacles here in the reverse, because that Four of Pentacles in the reverse is I am actively changing. I'm actively letting go of maybe some rules around what success looks like. And so this struggling to keep up, it's like, well, what does keep up mean? I feel like you're redefining that a little bit. So I'm not, I don't know that it concerns me that much that I see the Temperance here in reverse, because it kind of feels like something I would expect to see there. The Tower in reverse and the Five of Swords, though, those concern me a little bit because they're resistance to change that is coming, whether you like it or not. But there's almost this feeling of I'm digging in my heels and just sort of refusing to move forward with that change, not wanting to participate in that change at this time, and being willing to kind of stand steadfast against it. That's kind of what I get a little bit from that. We've got the Seven of Swords here. This is not energy that is coming from the two of you. This is more energy that is around you. So watch for people to not necessarily have your best interests in mind as they are saying things. So they may not even necessarily be anti your situation or anti you. It may not be an intentional sort of slight, but it may be just watch how things get talked about. You may have to go back and do some cleanup depending on what the situation is. There are some places where honestly you don't have to give people more understanding of what you're doing and what you're up to, but there are some places where you are probably going to want to clean up the narrative a little bit, so just be watching for that. Same sort of thing may be happening with your person as well. You may even hear a little bit about them, and it may not be super flattering, but this is the kind of thing where you hear something about them, it's not super flattering, and you kind of know immediately that it's not true. So be aware of that. It's not, this is where you find out the thing. We did see in one of the previous readings, there was something that you were going to see that there was kind of an edge of something you don't know with regard to your person. I don't get the sense that this is it. We do have the Six of Wands in the upright. And that's it for this little pile. We have the Six of Wands in the upright, and this one talks about victory. It's a victorious sort of, it's almost a confidence, like a Seven of Wands kind of feeling. But it's got this feeling of, I'm going to be victorious, and I know that I am. It doesn't feel overly arrogant or anything like that. It doesn't have that edge to it, but it does have that feeling of confidence and just knowing, hey, I'm in the thick of it now. I know that I'm going to have a lot of, challenges on my way there, but ultimately I am going to be successful. I don't know that I can argue with that, because it feels like it's true, and it's also just a great attitude to have. So it's like waking up on the right side of the bed a little bit. The Sun in reverse says it's this feeling of having fallen behind. Like I get this feeling of trying to keep up, and this is I've fallen behind, and there are certain things I'm just not going to be able to accomplish in this energy. But with the Four of Pentacles in the reverse, that seems like you're going to get okay with it relatively quickly. I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, but with this Four of Cups, I do see a little bit of it's like a disappointment in the situation, but it's a disappointment because of some misunderstanding. Something isn't quite, it's like there's something wonderful happening, but it's happening behind a curtain or behind a wall or something, so you can't quite see it. So you're not registering, A, that it's happening, or B, how you ought to feel about that. And so if without you having this information, of course, it's not as useful. So, I mean, it may be wonderful and good, but you're not aware of it yet. There's something that you're kind of feeling a little bit disappointed about. But it's like you're feeling like everybody forgot your birthday, and then you turn around and you find out they didn't forget. They just planned like a surprise. It's that kind of thing. So be aware that whatever it is that you're feeling the disappointment about, because that's a shared energy too, and it could be happening on both sides. Whatever it is that you feel the energy or the concern about and the disappointment about, it all may not be as it seems. And I kind of feel that throughout here a little bit. So we've also got the Moon. You're going to find out about it. So that's kind of the feeling that I get here with this. This is the Moon in the upright shows mystery. It is things that you don't know yet. And this is up here in the reverse. The way that it came out, it's like you're finding things out. So these are things that you've been waiting for a while to learn about. You may not even quite be thinking about it that way, but when it appears, you're going to be like, oh, hey, this turns out to be really useful information. Turns out to be something that I was waiting for and just didn't even maybe know I was waiting for. So be aware that there's information coming, and it seems like it's more than one thing. So there's information coming possibly around your your person that you know is, you're going to immediately know isn't true. There's something coming around your person that is true and is kind of the tip of the iceberg. So you won't be seeing the whole thing. And then there's additional information that it turns out you were waiting for, but it's relevant to this, like you having the birthday party. It's that kind of thing where you were having a disappointment that something wasn't going to go a certain way, and basically it outstrips your expectations. So there's definitely new things, new information coming to you in the end of October. Feels like it's a lot of information and there's some resistance against it. A lot of the resistance feels like it resides on your person's side. I do see a little bit of a sense of forgiveness in here as well, just kind of an energy of forgiveness, and that feels like it's flowing evenly and smoothly between the two of you, kind of in the background. So let's go ahead and look in a little bit more deeply and just kind of see, well, what is it that the rest of October has in store for you? So what do you need to know about the rest of October, the rest of the month of October for this collective? I don't even know what to expect. I wasn't gonna, like, I feel like with that eclipse and the way that everything felt, this is kind of why I didn't know what to expect. So we have introspection and awakening. Okay, so we know with the Four of Pentacles, this kind of goes on more a little bit with the Four of Pentacles feeling. So this is you moving into a new emotional space, moving into a place where you're able to look at things that have come before and determine how you feel about them. So the awakening card is the equivalent of the judgment card in this tarot, and the introspection card on top of it, it really just kind of has you both looking into yourselves to say, wait a minute, it doesn't show that you have a new perspective, but it does show that you are working toward one. I wouldn't be surprised if a hanged man comes out here to talk about the new perspective, but I feel like it's not there yet. It's more happening during the course of the tail end of October. I feel like we need another card. It's happening across the tail end of October. But I feel like this is not always neat and tidy, tied up in a nice little bow either. I feel like it's information that you're already, or new learning that you're already kind of starting to get, but it's opening and it's unfurling like a flower. So here we go with the unfurling like a flower. This is the emotional side. So, there's a sense of love opening back up, the channel for love opening back up. And it's really as a result of this judgment, this awakening, this introspection energy. It's like there's a significant shift that's happening here that I really feel around this Four of Pentacles. It may be brought on by this Five of Wands, but I think it shows up most in this Four of Pentacles. And it's letting go of something. And when I say letting go of something, it's not like walking away from a person or letting go of a job or something like that. I mean, and you could totally be. That's not saying those things aren't happening. That's just not what I think this is. This is walking away from a concept. Your person has for a long time been struggling with an adjustment to their values that they feel like they know they need to make. They've been looking to figure out how to even define this, and they're trying to make pain and discomfort go away, but what it comes down to is they need to make some adjustments to their values. So this is kind of part of that chipping away of the old values that need to be replaced, and here's where they're looking at it and kind of saying, here's what needs to happen next, here's how things work. But remember, here's a person who has been able to expand to accommodate some love, and then they tend to retract, and then they expand to accommodate a little bit more, and then they retract, and each time they expand, they're able to accommodate a little bit more. So the capacity for love has increased, but then it always is followed by this retraction. There's always this sense of, we've got the Nine of Wands here, always this sense of resistance. I was feeling that a little bit in here with the resistance as well, with the Tower in reverse. And the Nine of Wands, I kind of felt like, well, maybe it should have come out over there, but I guess it was waiting for this. So the resistance is strong. This is a matter of you've got love channels opening up, but it's not happening smoothly. It's not happening cleanly. That awakening does not happen all at once. So this awakening does not happen all at once. It's like realizations start to get made. Forgiveness starts to come through. I'm really getting the sense of forgiveness coming through during the course of the month. And it's an interesting mutual forgiveness because you're both forgiving not only each other, but yourselves, and not necessarily for the things you might have thought. Okay, so I like to think there's a decision that happens here, but it's an obvious no-brainer. It's a matter of just how do you let go? How do you do this thing with the Four of Pentacles? So you're both already to the place where you know what the decision is. You just have to figure out how to execute on it. But unfortunately, executing on it is in no way very easy. With this particular card, a lot of times when you get this one, you see that this frog is perched on a sword. If it hangs on too long here, it's probably, as it starts to lose its grip, it's going to get cut on the sword. When it jumps off, it's jumping into heaven only knows what, though. We don't know what this is. The frog doesn't know what this is. So that really is the unknown. That really is going off into this unknown over here. But it's still got that same sense of I'm not really sure what I'm walking into. I don't really understand what all these options are, but there's this sense of wanting to do something that's a little bit different from what's happened in the past. There's definite growth and definitely seeing things a little bit differently. We've got the Ace of Cups again over here. So we got Ace of Cups and an additional Ace of Cups. This is the opening up of love. It reminds me of the feeling of that sixth mantra that I explained to you guys. So for those of you who haven't been around for very long, or who haven't checked it out, back in October I did a meditation video because there were people that were saying, hey, you talk about meditation all the time, and I honestly am not sure where to begin. So I had built a video that just kind of talked about here's some meditation basics and just kind of enough to get you started, and you can go off and really develop it from there. So over the summer, I guess it was, I had gotten the question about, you mentioned these mantras. You've got a mantra you've got for forgiveness, you've got a mantra for release, you've got a mantra for love. What are all these mantras? And so I went through, I did another video, and I did one with the mantras. So one of them was around love. The sixth one that I talked to you guys about was around opening your heart to be able to give and receive love in equal amounts. And so we've got the Ace of Cups here, and it really feels like that's something that it gets initiated pretty strongly here across the back half of October. We've got the Queen of Wands in reverse. This is a very comforting card for me because what it looks like is taking a situation where maybe there is some resistance. That Seven of Swords is creating it. The Five of Swords over here is perpetuating it. And we're not necessarily perpetuating it, but it's a reaction to it. With this Queen of Wands here, this is a feeling of, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and settle down. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to trust. It's a feeling of being able to trust that things are going to be fine. And that is why I find it to be an incredibly comforting card, because ultimately that's where you want to be. It's not so much, hey, we need to understand exactly what's going to happen. We never know anyway, because we can't, even with this, we're still looking at it and saying, okay, and then you're going to add your free will, and everyone's going to add their free will to the situation. So you can't really say how people are going to manage their free will at the time. But what you can look at is the direction things are going and what we see acting upon you. And so this is the energy more that's acting upon you, both of you. But this Queen of Wands and honestly this Queen of Swords, these are about how things get done or how you move through things, how you have a decision to make. How do you go forward with it? Because with the Queen of Wands, this is not getting things done any way possible. This is being a little bit more conscientious about how you do it. And with the Queen of Swords, it's a matter of not making rash decisions, but being a little bit more careful about how you do it. And just more thoughtful. So both of these cards have this sense of being a little bit more thoughtful and deliberate in the actions. They're very comfortable. They don't feel like holding back or being held back. They just kind of feel like I'm going to do things with the right sort of timing and do something that makes good sense to me. Something that really feels like it's like it's going to work, something that feels right. And that's what you're after. I mean, I think that's a good comfortable energy for the second half of October, especially given that there's a lot of emotional change happening and there is still a lot of resistance to that. We see the Tower in reverse, we see the Death card in reverse, we see the Nine of Wands in the upright. This is all about resistance and being afraid to open up, and it is nearly all coming from your person. And yet we've got the Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups, there's that feeling of they're going to move back toward it again. Here's a situation where you're likely to hear from them again because they woke up on a good day and feel like they have to talk to you. The problem is, though, I think you're also going to run across is that they haven't figured out everything that they want yet. They really just kind of haven't figured out how to, they're meandering aimlessly on this path to figure out what it is that they truly want. So they have at some point here, and many of them in the last few weeks have awakened to figure out, you know what, I don't want what I have. This is not what I want. What they're living in is not what they're happy with. There is some kind of circumstance that makes them incredibly unhappy and shows them here's how much things have changed. So maybe the situation that they're in is something they thought they wanted, or it looked great on paper, or they wanted it at some time, but things have adjusted, things have shifted like they tend to do, but they haven't kept up with their own desires. And so now they find themselves in a situation that, again, may still look good on paper, but doesn't necessarily make them happy. They've been thrust into a situation where now they have to figure out, well, what does make me happy? How do I move toward it? You have significantly jogged their memory in this area. However, they're kind of taking their time here across the back half of October to really be able to articulate it to themselves. This is not a moving straight toward things and deciding exactly. They may move straight towards something, but it isn't this. They might jump into a hobby. They may jump into, I get that sense because there's that sense with both of you. There's something passionate coming your direction. Passionate, new. We're going to look at it here in just a second. But your person has some elements of that energy happening as well, and they're super duper resistant to it. So the issue is they end up missing the opportunity, or they end up missing it the first time. Like, you've already had this experience, but now they're going to have it, and it kind of impacts them a little bit differently. So I feel like a little bit more damage gets done, and they're not quite feeling as resilient about it as you are. And I just said all that, and that's essentially what's the feeling that's coming off of this Three of Pentacles right here. These are things not necessarily working well together. It's something that doesn't feel well orchestrated, or something isn't as organized, or kind of seems disruptive in a way that you would ordinarily think it shouldn't be. And what have we got here? We've got the Three of Cups. Okay, so it's coming from the situation around this this third party. So your person's thinking about you a ton. And they've got this situation with the third party that's kind of throwing them off a little bit. Again, this is that third party situation, whether it be a job or a family situation, somebody in their family, a spouse, maybe even a spouse with children, and now you have more complication. But there's something in here that, as we know, they've determined that they're not especially happy about it. This is not what I want. Even after having moved toward it, worked for it, I've determined now that I was maybe in some cases lying to myself, but that's really just, this confirms that it's about that third party. I think maybe when we get into the extended, we'll take a closer look at it. For a while, it seemed like all the readings were really centering around this third party. And honestly, I don't know that we have very many where it doesn't come up. But we're going to look at it in the extended and just kind of say, well, what unfolds for the third party during the course of October? I think that's one of the questions that we'll ask, and we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. But first, let's look at you. What should you be focused on during the back half of October? This collective is particularly strong in the areas of moving toward success, moving towards something that is, that's not part of it, moving towards success and something that is you kind of in the next step. So, all right, you're now moving into a situation where you're not feeling as stable and steady as you'd like to. That's a psychological thing, and it's also it's temporary, and it's a perception. So you're actually stronger and more stable than what you realize, but things feel a little bit funky because you are in this state of making some shifts, and so things feel a little bit off balance because you've got some things to redefine. It feels here like sometimes it gets a little bit overwhelming and it just feels more out of balance than it actually is. With the Empress here, this is that, and we've seen this in several readings now, this is that feeling of here comes something, but I don't feel ready for it. It's a feeling of not feeling ready for it. And once again, you are. So there are maybe some changes that are coming up here in the second half of October that we know there are some changes coming up here in the second half of October. We know there's information coming. We know that in your case, you've got opportunities that are opening for you and a soulmate that's coming in. I don't know if the soulmate shows up during October or what the dates exactly will be, but what I can tell you is that energy is heading your way, okay? And something about this you don't feel ready for. But you are. And again, it's because you haven't had, you've had an opportunity to learn some lessons, but there are some situations where maybe you haven't quite had the opportunity to put them into play just yet. So they end up feeling like you aren't ready for it. And then when you get into it, you go, oh, hold on, I do know this, you know. So we've got the Magician. This is you trusting in yourself, recognizing that you are ready, or you're at least ready enough. This is a very raw feeling of recognizing that, yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. I'm ready enough. I'm ready enough, and I'm going to do the rest of it on the fly. And then you do. And it's like that is the bridge that needed to be crossed. You have the Hanged Man. There's that new perspective. I feel like that is kind of coming out for both of you a little during the course of this month, but for you, it hits you pretty strongly. It's a very bold new perspective. You and your person both have some bold new perspectives coming out, though, because especially with their shift in values, it is just not at all surprising that I see you both moving in kind of a new direction. And it has something to do with these opportunities that are coming your way. So I get that you're not going to want to take every one of them. We've seen that in some of the readings, that there's some where you were advised to not necessarily take them all. Think carefully about the ones that you do choose to take. Make the best usage of your energy. This Hermit energy is going to be strong in you. This is like it's a strong Virgo energy, and so I don't usually bring up the astrology side of this, but it feels so Virgo. It is so, it's got that like traditional Virgo, the side that is very logical and smart and strong and just efficient and knows how to prioritize and organize in a way that I think is sometimes looked at like by other signs that aren't this person. You know, they're sometimes looked at as that seems limiting, and with this person it actually feels like freedom. So it's an interesting thing. It seems like the information that's coming to you and the guidance that's coming to you, the wisdom, that almost feels like freedom too. So we've got the King of Wands. King of Wands, this is kind of it's your energy source, but it's also a watch out. So this is the passion that fuels you, but you have to be aware that sometimes when you get passion up and going, you've got to be careful not to do anything self-destructive with it. That's like the energy coming off of this. And I think that's going to mean something a little bit different for everybody. Thing is, though, you have to let the passion light. You have to let it happen. You have to let yourself be able to go. The Star card here shows you are headed toward big things, headed toward great things. These new opportunities that are heading your way are more significant than they look. So here you've got this Five of Wands. This Five of Wands is in reverse. This isn't about struggling to keep up. This one is about not struggling and just kind of letting it go. It's again that sense of letting go, that it's going with the flow for maybe even a little bit longer, letting things happen a little bit more than you even ordinarily would do. Let's see what we've got here. We've got the Knight of Cups, not to be confused with the Nine of Cups. And then we've got the Five of Cups. So this is another watch out. This is about make sure that when you're, don't necessarily adopt a glass half full sort of approach. I'm not going to go out there and say you got to go glass half full or glass half empty. This was actually saying don't adopt the glass half empty. Don't go just being pessimistic about things. But the guidance is not to be optimistic either. It's really to be more, use both. Okay. So utilizing the pessimism to help guide you into places so that you don't make mistakes that you've made before, for example, using the optimism to guide you into places that just kind of to light your way. And so that's the guidance, but there may be a tendency to hang on that pessimistic side or that frustrated side. I feel a little bit of frustration in that as well, and I also feel that a little bit in this Four of Pentacles. So it's in the energy around you. You've got the Knight of Cups though. So that is super clearly a communication energy. Very definitely a communication energy. I feel like you're hearing from somebody here. I don't necessarily know. I feel like you're hearing from this person because I feel like they are likely to reach out to you on a good day. Like we saw that earlier. They're on a good day, they're going to want to reach out and they're going to be incredibly thoughtful. They're going to be very charismatic, and then they're probably not going to be super communicative after that. No, wait, we do want that high priestess. We do want that. The issue is, though, that they are also going to trigger you into a new set of items to learn, and so there's a sense here of you also, there's more than communication from them. I think that you're likely to hear from this person on a good day, but I think there's more than that. This almost makes me think this soulmate that's coming your direction emerges out of your past, which has not shown up in these readings. And yet I felt it like since I laid that card down. I'm like, am I saying this? Am I really going to say it? So I feel like, I feel like this may be a soulmate that emerges out of your past. Interesting. We're going to look at that when we get into the extended as well. So it's going to be what's happening with your person's third party and tell me what's happening with this soulmate that emerges out of the past. You are absolutely recommended to stay connected to your higher self, your higher power. Absolutely continue along with the introspection, continue with the meditation. I feel like if I had pulled one more card out of this deck, it would have been the meditation card. There's a strong need for you to get aligned and to stay aligned and to be able to kind of just know where you are psychologically. There's a strong need for that, especially because you're going to kind of be, you're going to be pulling together, you're going to be pulling things together for yourself that you want to know where all the pieces are. I feel like that's the best way to say it. This is an interesting energy for this month. I'm super curious to know about this, what feels like a previous, like an energy coming back. And then it feels like your person may be coming back. I don't know that that's the same. I don't honestly know that that's the same. That's what we'll look at when we get into the extended, but we're also going to look at what is happening with this third party and the energy that's happening there. And we'll specifically make it look like what's happening with the third party for the second half of October. So that's what we're going to do. The link for that is down below this video if you want to check it out. Definitely look forward to seeing you there. If not, then I will see you in tomorrow's video.